Macaulay Culkin will always be remembered as the innocent child from Home Alone whose screams brought joy to every holiday season. His existence was the stuff of dreams for most youngsters his age, being the highest-paid child performer of his day. The downside was the expense of celebrity. There were profound scars beneath their million-dollar smiles. Infidelity, depression, and strife within families. Next, a disturbing case involving his ex-wife swept the Globe's media. His abrupt change has shocked and saddened his fans. He looks very different. Come explore Macaulay Culkin's life, tribulations, and triumphant return with us. A difficult upbringing. New York City is the site of Macaulay Carson Culkin's birth on August 26, 1980. In a large, financially troubled family, he was the third child of 7. Even his father, Kit Culkin, had a career in theater. Patricia Brentrup was his mother, and she was a telephone operator. Their little Yorkville apartment was their home, yet they weren't married. Their budget was tight. Because of the cramped quarters, the kids had to share a room with bunk beds, and the bathroom was the only room with a door. Life was challenging. "I suppose we couldn't afford doors or whatever," Macaulay remarked in an interview at one point. Just that one line conveys so much. The family dynamic didn't shift immediately even when Macaulay began earning a six-figure acting salary. According to his interview with New York Magazine, he still gets made sleep on the couch by his father as a form of dominance. This is just to inform you that he has already stated that you would not sleep in a bed if he does not want you to. It didn't feel like life had gotten better even when they moved into a bigger place. What you couldn't see in the pictures or the red carpet smiles, though, was something much worse happening. The shadowy aspect of his father's dominion. Kit, Macaulay's father, was a domineering and violent figure behind the scenes. After film, he persuaded Macaulay to star in them. Although it appeared that Kit was merely overseeing his son's profession at first, it quickly became apparent that he was actually seeking control and power through it. "I don't want to be like Macaulay when I'm with my kids, and that's the one thing he taught me. A villain, he was." He detailed how, no matter how many times Macaulay begged Kit to let him rest, Kit would ignore him. He recalled precisely the moment when he started to feel a bit more exhausted. "I went from one set to another without realizing it." Kit used to fantasize of making it big in the acting world. His jealousy grew as a result of his son's early achievement. During his appearance on the WTF podcast, Macaulay boasted that he had already achieved great success in all of his endeavors prior to the age of 10. Envy escalated into hostility and mistreatment. Even his brother Kieran agreed with him. He described their father as frightening and aggressive. Macaulay went so far as to say he was the worst guy he had ever met. Plus, Macaulay's dad wasn't happy when he quit acting for good. That was the beginning of a court struggle that would become one of Macaulay's most notable life events, one that garnered international attention. A custody battle started when Macaulay's parents divorced. At this point in time, Macaulay learned that he had made anything from $15 million to $20 million. But he didn't actually own all of that cash. It created an issue since his parents could access it. Consequently, Macaulay decided. In court, he sought to have their names removed from the trust fund. To guarantee the security of the funds, he designated an executor. The events were misconstrued by many. He allegedly sought self-emancipation, according to several tabloids. That, however, was unfounded. The decision was about more than simply the money, he told Esquire. On a personal level, being under his father's supervision had made Macaulay feel unsafe. This lawful action allowed him to escape. Following the 1997 final court date, he severed all communication with his father. Indeed, he verified in an interview from the year 2025 that they haven't had any communication in over 30 years. He made the statement that "I despised my abusive father. I couldn't stand him." Nonetheless, Macaulay remained near his mother. He continues to speak fondly of her even after she remarried and relocated to Montana. There was never a breach in that connection of trust. Embracing wounds while forging forth with a fresh start, Macaulay still felt grief despite his fame. Actually, it exacerbated the abuse. He was hurting on the inside, even though everyone else saw him as a lucky, wealthy child star. He suffered severe mental wounds as a result of the familial pressure, the public scrutiny, and his own helplessness. The pressure to mature too quickly was the worst part, he said time and time again. He went from being a little kid living in a cramped apartment with his siblings to being the sole provider for his family overnight. Worked relentlessly and took on adult duties long before he reached puberty. Macaulay has endeavored to construct a fresh existence in spite of all obstacles. He avoids the limelight and works only when the mood strikes him. Acting, he said in an interview with New York Magazine, was no longer enjoyable for him. It shifted from being something he wanted to do to something he had no choice but to do. In retrospect, he saw that it wasn't the labor itself that irritated him, but rather his father's manipulation of him through it. He finally admitted that he was unable to stop it, recalling the exact moment when I understood. After that, he realized something had to give. Macaulay appears to have accepted that conclusion today. The one thing my dad did for me was show me the kind of person I would never want to be, he said once when talking about his dad. It was a profound lesson in and of itself. Even if he can't shake the ghosts of his past, Macaulay Culkin is gradually reclaiming command of his life and profession. If we're going to talk about careers, let's examine the pivotal beginning in more detail. At the tender age of 4, Macaulay Culkin made his acting debut. He made his theatrical debut with the New York Philharmonic in the musical Bach Babies. In the 1980s, he continued his career in film and television. Even though he was uncredited, he made his screen debut in 1985's The Midnight Hour, a TV movie. In an episode of The Equalizer airing in 1988, he made his acting debut playing the part of Paul Gephardt, an abducted boy. His appearance in Rocket Gibraltar, a drama, was that very year. He co-starred with Drew Barrymore and Jeff Bridges in the 1989 romantic comedy, See You in the Morning. However, the 1989 comedy Uncle Buck was the standout. Along with John Candy, he portrayed Miles Russell. The film piqued the interest of Hollywood, particularly a prominent writer. It was writer John Hughes who suggested Macaulay play the starring role in Home Alone. The course of Macaulay's life was irrevocably altered in that instant. As Kevin McAllister in Home Alone, Macaulay starred in the 1990 film. Everyone adored the cunning little boy who sprung traps for the robbers in the blockbuster film. Instantly, Macaulay became well known. For his work, he received multiple accolades, including a Golden Globe nomination. Actor Joe Pesci, who portrayed a burglar, gushed about Macaulay, calling him a really sweet kid, and praising his professionalism despite his young age. The notoriety skyrocketed. Among his 1991 accomplishments were hosting Saturday Night Live, appearing in Michael Jackson's Black or White music video, and starring in the animated TV show Wish Kid, My Girl, in which he portrayed Thomas J., catapulted him to stardom. His on-screen connection with Anna Chlumsky was really well received by fans. At the MTV Movie Awards, they were even named Best Kiss. The wealth began to mirror his celebrity status. He made $100,000 for the original Home Alone, $1 million for My Girl, and $4.5 million for the sequel, which he lost in New York in 1992, all while earning $100,000. Richie Rich and the Page Master, which he starred in 1994, brought in $8 million for him. Yet there was a lot of pressure to succeed. He worked non-stop, and the strain eventually became apparent. Before what's happened, the constant scrutiny eventually got to him, despite his initial enjoyment of acting. It was probably around the time I was 9 years old when everything was happening, he told The Guardian. In one moment, you're just a regular kid strolling down the street. In the next, some bully is trying to sneak a peek at you through your window. I couldn't cope with that. Suddenly, he felt stifled by the spotlight, which he had formerly loved. I used to be a little bit of a people pleaser. Excuse me, I'm only a bit young. He instructed Esquire to gaze at him. Knowing that I was skilled at it made it enjoyable for me. The paparazzi, however, began to follow him everywhere, and that changed everything. There were some paranoias, like thinking someone was hiding in the bushes. However, he did tell New York Magazine that there are, in fact, individuals hiding in the bushes. Macaulay reached his breaking point in the mid-1990s. He chose to take a sabbatical after finishing Richie Rich. He just wanted to be a regular student. He decided to escape the limelight and attend a Manhattan private high school. He subsequently ranked this as a top decision of his life. Although he made a brief appearance in a Sonic Youth music video in 1998, it was not considered a full comeback at the time. Years down the road, in an unexpected manner, that would occur. A repayment according to his liking. Macaulay Culkin got back into acting in 2000, but he did it on stage this time. He was the leading man in the West End production of Madame Melville, which took place in London. Even if it was subtle, his return demonstrated that he was still passionate about performing, just in a new capacity. A 2003 episode of Will and Grace included his unexpected presence. Fans and journalists alike lauded his portrayal of a supposedly immature lawyer who had just gone through a divorce. Party Monster, a daring picture he appeared in that same year, featured him. The character he played, Michael Oleg, was based on a real-life club promoter who fell prey to addiction and crime. He proved he wasn't scared of challenge by taking on the part, which was dark and dangerous. He then portrayed a wheelchair-bound adolescent at an exclusive Christian high school and saved. Even though the film bombed at the box office, critics praised his performance. The public started to perceive Macaulay for more than only the lonely homeboy. In addition, he started doing voice acting. He became a voice actor for Seth Green's Robot Chicken, a comedic web series. He managed to stay under the radar while still participating in the entertainment industry. Junior, a semi-autobiographical novel he penned in 2006, was his work. His complicated connection with his father, life, and stardom were all examined in the book. It was a moving and experimental experience. Sex and Breakfast, a black comedy about contemporary relationships, also featured him around that period. He collaborated with Kuno Becker and Eliza Dushku, among others. His breakout role came in 2009 on the hit TV series Kings, playing the part of Andrew Cross. His performance was once again lauded, even though the show was short. Macaulay also enjoyed his notoriety to a certain extent. He asked, "Remember me?" directly into the camera in an ad for Aviva Insurance that appeared in the UK in 2009. A subtle reference to his legendary part was made. Additionally, he surprised everyone by appearing on WWE Raw later that year. He was instrumental in recreating an iconic moment from Home Alone, where a paint can is swung into the face of a wrestler. Following the collision, Macaulay emerged from the doorway and exclaimed, "That's not funny." It was a huge hit with the target audience. The years of recovery. When Macaulay Culkin made a surprise reappearance in the 2010s, it was after a long absence. He dabbled in other things instead of returning to Hollywood blockbusters. He had an appearance in The Park, a 2010 New York Times web series. In the same year, he was a member of the Oscars homage to John Hughes, who had passed away. Along with other 80s celebrities like Matthew Broderick and Molly Ringwald, he stepped on stage. Everyone was reminded of how huge Culkin was in that moment. The Wrong Ferrari, a one-of-a-kind feature film from 2011, featured Culkin alongside singer Adam Green. A single iPhone shot the whole film. A music video for the song, Stamp Your Name on It, featured him later that year. His 2012 YouTube films included him transforming his New York City apartment into a makeshift painting studio. It wasn't the usual, but it was genuine for fans. Culkin was clearly testing the waters of adulthood in his own unique way. A video of him stealthily devouring pizza went viral in 2013, though, and nobody could stop talking about it. Culkin ate a cheese pizza slowly in a minimalist video. An ancient film featuring artist Andy Warhol devouring a burger served as the inspiration for the parody. He was trying to introduce something new with this bizarre but humorous incident. A group of musicians. The Pizza Underground was its name. They performed Velvet Underground cover versions of tunes. There was no one topic other than pizza. Even though they began their tour in 2014, not everyone enjoyed it. Fans booed and hurled drinks at the band during a performance in the United Kingdom. In the middle of a kazoo solo, Culkin bolted from the stage. The band went on to cancel more gigs, claiming it had nothing to do with that particular night. They ended their relationship in 2016. According to Culkin, their upcoming album will be their final one. However, he hasn't finished experimenting or exploring new avenues just yet. Following the disbandment of the band, Culkin experimented with various projects. A humorous TV commercial for Compare the Market featured him in 2016. He still wanted to show that he was prepared to have fun with his public image, so he made it brief and light. In 2018, he debuted Bunny Ears, a comedy website and podcast, on his own. Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop is just one example of the many celebrity websites that were meant to be mocked. Strange, clever, and distinctly Culkin, it was. His return of his most famous character that year startled and delighted fans alike. Culkin reprised his role as Kevin McAllister for the second time in 28 years in a Google Assistant holiday commercial. In his recreations, he brought Home Alone to life, as using aftershave while bouncing on the bed. But this time he sought assistance from Google rather than attempting to accomplish everything by himself. Many people really liked the ad. Culkin had a role in the 2019 film Changeland. It was directed by Seth Green and featured Culkin and Brenda Song, who would later become his wife. Even though it didn't have a huge release, the film served as a reminder to his followers that he was still a talented actor. Next, a pivotal moment arrived. He became an American Horror Story regular in 2021. Two-part film. Many were impressed by his performance. For revealing an alternative side of himself, he received admiration from many. Deep, sophisticated, and novel. A lot had changed for Culkin. The Hollywood Walk of Fame honored him with a star in 2023. Catherine O'Hara, who co-starred with him in Home Alone, delivered a moving tribute during the ceremony. His Party Monster co-star Natasha Lyonne was equally effusive in her praise. For the young man who had once swept Hollywood, it was a moment of complete redemption. But Culkin had already decided on a major course of action before this happened. He had ceased from performing, from everything. He retired in 1994 after Richie Rich. The change was gradual. There had been hints of it for some time. Movies like Getting Even with Dad, Home Alone 2, and the good son had begun to feel less like fun and more like labor. Culkin was looking for a change. He aspired to lead a typical adolescent life. In New York, he enrolled in a specialized school for kids. He went about his daily life as usual, hanging out with pals. According to what he told New York Magazine, he never did anything out of the ordinary for a youngster from the wealthy Upper West Side. We weren't exactly hiding out in the corner, fiddling with heroin. It was his strategy for countering the baseless accusations leveled against him. He eventually left school in his senior year. He briefly stepped back into the limelight in 2000 with a one-act play titled Madame Melville. The realization that you can't turn back from this took him around 6 years, he told Time. Then he was quite selective about the parts he played. He voiced characters in Robot Chicken, appeared in Party Monster, and published a book in 2006. The title of the book was Junior. It wasn't only an account. His personal life was reflected in it. His ideas on his rocky connection with his father and his early fame were conveyed in it. The voice was unfiltered and intimate. It revealed more about Culkin's life than what was previously known. Even though he never attempted to become a major celebrity again, audiences were captivated by his acting. His brilliance hadn't waned, though. In 2021, he showed a new side to the world on American Horror Story. Despite his infrequent appearances, Macaulay often managed to make an impression. On the other hand, behind the scenes, a friendship he formed in his youth would become one of his most famous stories. Michael Jackson and an unexpected bond are revealed. The friendship between Culkin and Michael Jackson was a major aspect of his life. When Jackson cast Culkin in the music video for Black or White, they hit it off. Their friendship appeared peculiar at first sight. Although Jackson was more than 20 years their senior, they shared a commonality. Their upbringings were anything but ordinary. It's not like I can casually approach strangers and say, "Hey, you two?" According to Culkin, it's not that common. Michael is only a child. I'm only a little kid. We'll both always feel like 8 years old, even if we never got to experience that age when we were actually 8. They became close because of that same emotion, but it also raised problems. People began to worry if they were still dating after Jackson was accused of child molestation. Culkin was fully visible. He took the stand at the 2005 trial and made it very apparent that he had done nothing wrong to him. He was completely invisible to me. Acquittal came later for Jackson. It was in a toilet during the trial that they last met. It wasn't long, and that was the last time they ever crossed paths. In 2009, Jackson passed away. Although Culkin no longer frequently discusses their friendship, he continues to support him when questioned. Even Jackson's children, Prince Michael and Paris, count him among their godfathers. That unassuming devotion says a lot. Anguish concealed by renown. Although Macaulay Culkin's early charisma has helped him gain fame, he has had a troubled personal life. Even before Michael Jackson's 2009 death broke the globe, Macaulay had experienced devastating loss in his own family. Sadly, he lost his half-sister Jennifer Adamson in the year 2000. Her drug overdose death occurred while she was barely 30 years old. Despite the fact that Jennifer was his father's daughter from a previous relationship, the news of her passing devastated him. Another earthquake rocked Macaulay's life only 8 years later. A car hit his older sister Dakota as she crossed the street to get some Gatorade and cigarettes, much like Macaulay used to do. She was only 29 years old, which put her 1 year ahead of Macaulay. They were inseparable. They had many conversations, and Dakota offered him wisdom that stayed with him in their final one. Remain enthusiastic and focused, she advised him. He obviously placed a high value on that recollection. After some time had passed, in 2021, Macaulay and Brenda Song welcomed their first child, a son, and they called him Dakota as a heartfelt homage. However, tragedy wasn't life's sole unexpected turn. Even while he attempted to return to the stage in a completely different manner, there were other moments that tested his strength. Macaulay Culkin desired a change of pace after years of stardom as a child actor, but he gets his wish when the mob turns on him. He decided to form a band, but it wasn't any old band. A comedy rock band with a pizza theme, they were known as the Pizza Underground. Despite how strange that sounds, the ensemble was endearing in its own way. As part of his band, which also included Matt Colborn, Phoebe Kreitz, Dina Vollmer, and Austin Killam, Macaulay contributed vocals, drums, and kazoo work. They were a spoof of the Velvet Underground, you know. They started with the original tunes and substituted pizza-related gags for the lyrics. Some of the songs, like "I'm Waiting for the Delivery Man," managed to make people laugh. To start with, in 2014, they played 18 concerts in North America, but things changed when they arrived in England. Fans at Nottingham's event were not amused with their performance at Rock City. A booing crowd erupted. In the middle of Macaulay's kazoo solo, others even tossed beer pints at the stage. It was brutal and humiliating all at the same. The band insisted the disastrous night in Nottingham was unrelated to the cancellation of their remaining UK concerts. Regardless, buzz surrounding the Pizza Underground rapidly died down. Macaulay declared the group's disbandment in the summer of 2016. Their final studio album was on the way. Once again, Macaulay's expectations were dashed by this chapter's disappointing conclusion. Big changes had also occurred in his personal life, beginning with love, marriage, and bitter breakups as the band disbanded. Life outside of work is chaotic. Macaulay Culkin made a daring move when he was only 17 years old. He tied the knot. Rachel Miner, a fellow student of his at the acting academy, was the fortunate girl. Their paths initially intersected when they were both 14 years old. During their initial encounter, Macaulay introduced herself as Rachel. "Hey, I wanted to welcome you to the school. This woman believed I was a total jerk because I didn't introduce myself. My name is Mac." They became friends despite the tense initial encounter. They decided to tie the knot after enduring 3 unsuccessful breakups in their troubled relationship. It was a low-key wedding. They were married in a Connecticut stone church, but their short-lived romance was short-lived too. They split up after 2 years and got a divorce in 2002. But they never harbored resentment toward one another. The Guardian was informed by a representative that Macaulay thought, "What can I say? I adored her." However, that wasn't his sole significant other. After Macaulay's divorce, a new chapter in his romantic life began, one that remained under the radar for nearly a decade before ending peacefully. Actress Mila Kunis was Macaulay Culkin's girlfriend shortly after he split up with Rachel Miner. By 2002, they had already established themselves as one of the most discreet couples in Hollywood. They remained together for approximately 8 years, with their relationship being kept under wraps. They had discreetly parted ways by 2011. Nobody had all the facts at their fingertips back then. Mila Kunis did, however, discuss the split in 2018. She came clean about it on Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert program. "I'm sorry about how things turned out, and I'm sick of what I did," she stated. She didn't spill the beans, but it was obvious from her statements that she had hurt him. Despite the pain of breaking up, they both picked themselves up and continued on. Ashton Kutcher, who Mila had dated on that 70s show, is now her husband. He also found love anew with Macaulay. He first crossed paths with Brenda Song in 2017 on the set of Changeland. They hit it off right away, and their bond only deepened as time went on. They became parents for the first time in April 2021. However, Macaulay's remarks regarding the Joe Rogan incident reappeared later that year. He poked fun of Brenda's Asian background in the 2018 episode, mentioning things like her eye shape and the potential appearance of their children. He made the excuse that it was fine because of their connection and promised to do it, but his words caused many to react negatively. But Macaulay and Brenda held firm regardless of the backlash. Their second child was born in December 2022. Something Macaulay hadn't always known. Love had provided steadiness this time. Scandals, accusations, and a return to the spotlight. A lot of legal issues befell Macaulay Culkin in 2004. The Oklahoma City police had stopped a vehicle he was in because of excessive speed. Brett Tabasole was at the wheel, and Macaulay was sitting in the passenger seat. From New York, the vehicle was making its way to Los Angeles. Both Macaulay and his friend consented when the officer requested to search the vehicle. The news reported on the officer's discovery. Sandwich bags and a metal cigarette box concealed 17.3 grams of marijuana and 2 prescription medications, alprazolam and clonazepam. The 2 guys gave no fight. They relinquished all possessions. Arrested was Macaulay. However, he was released from custody upon posting bond of $4,000. He initially denied the charges when he appeared in court, but he ultimately admitted guilt. 3 suspended sentences of 1 year were handed down by the court. He avoided jail time, but was still required to pay $940 in fines. There was a subsequent media frenzy. Word on the street was that Macaulay was struggling with a major substance abuse issue. He allegedly had a heroin and pain drug addiction, according to certain periodicals. Macaulay denied the rumors, but pictures of him seeming skinny only served to inflame the situation. As he revealed in an interview with Esquire, he had never gone to the point where he needed assistance from others. According to him, he doesn't do drugs for fun. He also did not have a drug problem, according to a comprehensive drug and alcohol test. Macaulay reflected on those rumors years later and stated, "Look, man, I've got something to show for it. I got money, I got fame, and I got a beautiful girlfriend and a beautiful house and beautiful animals. There is nothing I desire and even less that I require. I'm good, man." And he meant it. In 2021, he returned to acting in American Horror Story, double feature, surprising everyone with a strong performance. And in 2023, he finally got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. a sign that even after all the ups and downs, Macaulay Culkin is still standing strong. What's your favorite Macaulay Culkin memory from Home Alone or beyond? Do you think child stars today face the same struggles Macaulay did? Or has Hollywood finally changed? What's your favorite Macaulay Culkin memory from Home Alone or beyond? Do you think child stars today face the same struggles Macaulay did? Or has Hollywood finally changed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood.